Episode 56. Stephen, welcome back to the Missoula Podcast.
Hey, glad to be here, Brendo.
Dude, I am excited for this episode. Michael Schlact, the manager of your Missoula Paddleheads.
Let's go.
Here in studio. Michael, how are you, man?
I'm good. It's been a interesting few weeks personally, but I'm glad to be here, man.
That's awesome.
It's been nice to get to know you too.
We'll get into that here in a minute. My first question for you right out of the gate is, how do you feel about the peanut inning?
You know, that's like a number one question I get.
Do you really?
Yeah, we go on the road and everybody's like, I bet you're glad there's no peanut inning here. So we've been doing the math, right? We score 70+% of the time in the peanut inning.
Okay.
Really?
It's a special time.
It's like Moneyball. That's the stat you guys track.
Yeah.
Peanut inning.
Yeah. So Matt Ellis, our president, is huge on tracking this. And I think, you know, the opponents know it's coming. Everyone knows it's coming. Sammy B just freaks out up there.
Yeah.
And the guys have a good time with it. I think it might depend on kind of the culture of the team.
Right.
Like, but these guys this year are really into it. So
I don't know if I should embrace it or like if it's uncomfortable. What do you do, Steven? Are you a fan?
Yeah, I'm a fan for about 2, maybe 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wow, we're really going for
Yeah.
this. It's long.
Sammy
Yeah.
comes out with passion
Yeah.
every night. Like he
For
lives for the peanut inning.
our listeners that maybe don't know about it, can you explain?
No, they
what
need
the
to go to a
peanut-
Paddleheads game, figure it out themselves.
Fair enough.
Buy a ticket,
yeah.
have a great night with the family, and
that's good. That's a good pitch.
discover for yourself peanut inning. But no, serious, Michael, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I was trying to think back. Steven asked me earlier how our paths crossed. And a few years ago, when you had a social media presence
Yes.
on Twitter, I started following Michael and just his tweets of just leadership, mentorship, fatherhood, parenting, families. I was just like, dang, this guy is deeper than just a jock, just an athlete. And commented on a few messages. And then one night, you're going through something with your son and just asked for people to, hey, be praying with us.
Yeah.
We're walking through something, and just reached out to him and just started off a relationship that started through social media. And one thing I've learned about Michael, I think we'll hear through his story, is he is so much more than a coach. He is a leader and a mentor. And the guys on the team I've talked to or in our community that know him are just, he's a leader, and admire that. So
That means a lot, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
It was an interesting way to meet, you know, but in this day and age, sometimes that's how it happens. And
so bizarre.
yeah, baseball and that era of my life with social media was definitely,
Yeah.
I created some really cool relationships that way.
It's funny. I remember we were at a game, and I think it was the first time we actually met in person a year, 2 seasons ago or something. And my son goes, "You know him?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I realized, like, wait, this is the first time we've met like
Yeah.
in person. We've had
Yeah.
this catfishing relationship.
That's right.
So
Well, let's start at coaching, and then
Okay.
we'll move to some other directions. What is your favorite thing about being a coach?
So it's interesting. When I set out to be in baseball, it was definitely not to coach. And the minute that I jumped over and transitioned into that, it immediately became this space where I could help guys with what I went through. Good or bad, really. It really didn't matter, but you experience so much in life, so much in the baseball life, that it became this place where what I went through is what they're going through. And it just gave this sense of empathy for me that I was able to talk into that. And they knew that I had lived it before. And it was just, it continues to be an amazing platform to pour into these guys, a little bit into baseball, but a lot into life. And I love that mix that I get to do both, and how much of life translates over to baseball. That's been really fascinating.
It feels like baseball, because it's a longer season, because there's road trips, you're in the double headers or dugouts.
Mhm.
It seems like there's a little more relational aspect of it than maybe other sports. Do you have like any values or philosophy on how to build those relationships with your players?
I think over the few years, that's what we're most proud of, as at least in Missoula, is the culture that we've built. I've just found that they don't really care what you did that was good in your day, so to speak. What they connect with is what you did not do well. And so when they're going through something, you sit down next to them and you talk to them and say, "Hey, I've been there. Here's what happened. Here's what I did. Maybe you can take a little something from this experience." It's always the low points of the career, of the life, of the story that actually creates the connection, more than me sitting here over you telling you, "Hey, well, I did this really well. You need to do that." It just never plays. And so allowing them the space and the freedom to be themselves with guardrails. And you combine that with the fact that we say, hey, we're going to win. And if we don't win, we're going to learn. It's just been a really cool culture builder in that way.
I like that.
Where did baseball start for you?
It started at 5, and it started with a lot of flower picking in the outfield, to the point where my parents said, hey, I don't think he likes this. And they pulled me from it until I was about 8. And then it came roaring back. I mean, I grew up in Atlanta in the 90s, you know.
It's a better time.
Yeah.
TBS baseball for me.
So, yeah, the Superstation.
7 Cy Youngs in one decade or something?
I mean, you look at what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the team. And I had a front row seat, so to speak. Went to games with my dad. And that love, just like, I just remember walking into Fulton County Stadium. You know, that was before Turner Field, before Truist Park. And it was just like, I was like, I want to be here one day. Like it made sense. It clicked. It was just natural. And I just hit the ground running at 8 and never looked back. I mean, it was something I've been involved in now for that many years.
Wild.
So were you excelling in baseball growing up? I mean, in Little League and whatever Babe Ruth comes after that. And what was your high school career like?
Yeah. So I was always the biggest kid on the field, which by default I threw the hardest. You know, but I always loved pitching. I played first also, hit. I just never was that great at it. But pitching always was something that came naturally. And over the course of my development as a person, you know, getting stronger, taller, my parents did a wonderful job of putting me in front of the right people. I had amazing coaches. My dad worked really hard to protect me in that way, to make sure that I was put in front of coaches that cared about me more than just my arm. My dad's brother was a physical therapist. He's, you know, got an orthopedic background. And so I had that going for me, and, you know, hey, maybe chill out on this, do this, avoid this pitch, that kind of thing. And it was just a really cool circle growing up. And so baseball always came easy to me because I loved it. It was always fun. And then I did hit it, you know, I hit the lulls that everybody hits, where you go, I don't like, can I really achieve that? Like, could I go pro? Is this possible? And that whole process in high school was fascinating because,
Well, at what stage did you know this is what I was made for?
Going into my senior year, I think was when it got real for me.
And this still in Georgia at the time?
Yeah. Okay. I went to Wheeler High in Marietta, Georgia, northwest of Atlanta. And so I, you know, like around my sophomore, junior year, I had the colleges start reaching out, and I committed to South Carolina to play, which was cool. Still didn't really know that the pro thing was going to work. And then I went to a tournament in the fall going into my senior year. And I just remember getting on the mound, coming set, looking up, and about 50 radar guns went up. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, it was this surreal moment where you accept that they're there to watch you pitch.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have a choice to make in that moment, because, you know, do you freak out? Do you do what you've always done? Like, that was the struggle. And honestly, it set off kind of a long struggle of identity and what, you know, how do you act? How do you pitch? You know, like that juggle of who are you versus who do they want you to be? And it was quite a journey, and then ended up getting drafted out of high school by the Rangers, which was amazing. So,
wild. So did you end up going to South Carolina? Did you,
nope.
went the draft?
I was drafted in the 3rd round and talked to the family, and we decided that can always go back to college, which I did. But you may not always get the opportunity to play professional baseball.
Yeah.
And so in July of 2004, I signed, and I've been in pro ball ever since. I mean, it was just, the journey started then, and it's been a 20-year, just really interesting, fun, hard, crazy journey.
What was the transition like from being, you know, an amateur into getting paid to do this? And where was your first stop in your journey? Did you have a few stops? I'm guessing.
My wife and I have moved so many times. Wasn't married at the time. She's my high school sweetheart, so she's been here the whole journey. That was the hardest thing I have ever done. In my head, it was built up as this cool thing. I'm going to be this pro athlete, and I get to play pro baseball now. They sent me out to Surprise, Arizona, in the middle of July. Had never left home before, really. I mean, and I was in high school. I mean, I'm living at home, and it was the hardest thing, to the point where the first couple nights I thought I made a mistake. I was so homesick, and I missed my wife, girlfriend, like so much.
What was it like walking into that clubhouse as the freshman into a Major League Baseball spring training?
It was surreal.
Like, who was on the team then? Who was in that locker room?
Yeah, so I mean, like they did a good job of splitting the minor leaguers and major leaguers up, but you shared the complex with them. And I think it got real the first time when I went into, because I went to minor league camp the first year, and but you go into the weight room, and it's Michael Young, Mark Teixeira, Nelson Cruz, Josh Hamilton
there.
Yeah, I mean, it was that that time. It was crazy.
Wild.
And you realize, wow, I'm actually here, and at the same time you're realizing, like, I'm going to go to a minor league place, and I got to figure out my housing, and I got to figure out how to get there. Like, there's just so many logistics that a 19-year-old has no idea how to handle.
Did you have an agent at
the
time helping with some of that?
Yeah. And he did a great job. But still, it's that human element of, like, my parents did everything for me lovingly, and then, so now I got to do laundry, and I got to figure out how to get from here to there and pay bills and set up a lease. And I mean, the whole thing is just surreal. It's amazing, really, that I did it.
As you look back on your pro career, how would you sum that up? I mean, what was that experience like?
So there were a lot of highs and a lot of lows. The first few years were wonderful, and it was amazing. I'm playing baseball, I'm getting paid. There's crowds and travel, and I'm seeing cities I never thought that I would see. And then the injuries came, and everything that you thought, all your comfort, all of what you think is your future, was literally ripped away because it's shoulder, and I could not throw. Try to rehab, have a surgery, come back, have another surgery, and it just started what ended up at the time was a downward spiral for me. But what ended up being what got me into coaching, which has been the best thing ever. So, but in the moment, it was the worst. It was my darkest time.
Because that was where your identity was.
My identity was as a baseball player.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I did, and there was no other options at that time.
On the flip side, what was the high? What were some of the highs of the playing days?
Man, just being there and putting that uniform on and realizing that I was doing something that a very small percentage of people were able to do.
How far did you get moving up?
Double A.
Went to Double A.
I got to Double A. I was able to do some major league spring training games and be in the bullpen and sit next to major leaguers. And I mean, the thing that stuck out for me was I was getting to be in the bullpen for a major league game, and I'm sitting there surrounded by big leaguers, and we're playing the Padres in spring training, and Greg Maddux was a Padre at that time, and he started the game. And so I'm on the opposing team, but I'm watching Greg Maddux on the same field that I have a uniform on for. And it was spring training, and I had no shot to get in the game, and I had no shot to make the team. But it was like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
So being able to pitch, have a uniform on, play pro ball, those little moments were all so cool.
I'd imagine, much like myself growing up, you collected baseball cards and followed it. And I wish I could get my son into it. He just doesn't. But going through my cards, Michael, I have this autographed Michael Schlact rookie card from the Texas Rangers.
There it is.
Wow.
So what's interesting about this card is you see this little silver rectangle here. Okay, I had to sign these, right? One by one by hand that first summer. And it took hours every day, like the whole summer, to do the number of signatures that they wanted me to do.
How wild is that?
But yeah, I mean, I'm going back to where I signed these little things, like right now.
Where was it? Where were you?
I was in a living room at a house that we were renting
during
my first summer. No, it was rookie ball, Arizona League.
Wow.
And it was like 125 degrees outside, and I didn't have to be at the field till later.
Draft pick Michael Schlact, third round, Texas Rangers.
And I was signing them. Now you got one.
Isn't that amazing? It's wild.
I know.
I've been so excited for this moment for like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I can't believe
It's been sitting on my desk for...
Man, that's awesome.
I just kept waiting. I want to send you a picture so bad, but it's just like, this is so great.
I'm glad we got
classic.
That. Yeah, you better hold on to that. Keep it safe.
What do you think that card's worth?
Like $2.
$2?
Yeah. Like, I can give you $2 if you want. I mean, I don't like...
It's sweet.
No, it's just cool. It's like a little piece of like personal history, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Mhm.
like, you know, because my kids don't know, like they weren't born when I played.
Right.
They only know me as a coach. And so they see little things like that and they're like, that's you? Like it's just weird to them. And
That's
I get to tell them cool stories.
that's so awesome.
Tell us about the transition from player to coach. Where were you? What was your first gig?
Man, I mean, I can't even like in words, like it's sitting here, don't do this justice, but I'm in Amarillo, Texas. Had just tried to pitch again. My 2021 Missoula hitting coach, Bobby Brown, was the manager of the Amarillo Sox. And he decided to give me a shot as a veteran pitcher. Like, didn't work, couldn't pitch. I was hurt. He saw something in me that I didn't even know. And it was the ability to coach baseball. I had never, I mean, I gave lessons to little kids and things, but I had never even put on my radar that I could coach a professional baseball. So I told him that I'm going to retire. I'm going to go. I didn't know what I was going to do. We were married and my wife was pregnant with our first child and kind of a scary time. And he said, hey, give me 1 month. Hang out with me for 1 month. I can't pay you, but I'll give you my meal money and I'll put you up at this hotel for free if you just stay with us. And so we were living in Dallas at the time with friends. So my wife was driving back and forth from Dallas to Amarillo, working at Chick-fil-A, just trying to help support. And I had no salary. But she was there the day that I did it. I went from the clubhouse to the coach's office. So I went from being teammates with these guys to coaching them overnight. And my wife was there and she said, I saw the light switch go on. She said, I saw what you were supposed to be doing your entire life happen. And you didn't even know. And it felt that way. Like the joy and the comfort and the peace, like everything I felt walking onto the field as a coach for the first time, I said, this is what I'm meant to do. It was the clearest of clear under weird circumstances, but I just knew at that time. And it was all natural and it was easy, so to speak. It just came easily and it was unbelievable. It was so much fun right away.
How long were you there, Amarillo?
So I finished the year there. So it was about a month and a half. Went home again, didn't know what was next because they, turned over the staff there. And Bobby, the same guy, ended up calling the manager in Fargo, North Dakota. They needed a pitching coach, and they gave a chance to a first-year guy with no experience, and got that job. That was my first full-time paid job. My son was born there that first year, and yeah, just I was there till 2018 when I took a brewer's job, and now I'm here.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How'd you end up in Missoula?
So when Missoula was the Osprey, they were the Diamondbacks affiliate. One of the longtime pitching coaches here, Jeff Bajanero, who's still with the Diamondbacks, knew Matt, knew Missoula, had coached here before. And when they moved to the independent circuit, he knew I knew indie ball. He called me and he said, if they are interested in you, you should seriously consider Missoula. He said it is nowhere like, or it's like you're never going to find a place like it. Matt Ellis, the front office, he didn't know Peter, but he said the town, the people, everything is just so cool. And so he put in a good word for me. They ended up calling me and started the interview process, and that's how it happened.
Crazy.
I was working at Chick-fil-A at the time. I had gotten fired by the Brewers during COVID when they contracted the minor leagues. I didn't know what else to do. I mean, I kind of thought that my baseball coaching career was over at that time. Both of my kids are on the autism spectrum. They were in therapy. We were getting some opinions that maybe we should stay at home and give them more consistency at that time. And so I was like, well, I don't know what else to do. So to make some money, I'm just going to work at Chick-fil-A. And so I just took an entry-level job there. And I was doing that for a few months before that process happened.
I feel like every kid's dream who grows up in Atlanta goes one of two routes. They're either going to play for the Braves or work at a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Like that's,
well, they're on every corner.
Yeah, that's
so
Georgia.
I didn't
Makes sense.
I didn't have to go far.
Yeah. Baseball or Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
that's what you fell back on.
Or Waffle House. I mean, that's all.
When you were working for Chick-fil-A, that was back in Atlanta?
It was 5 minutes from my house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And well, first off, unbelievable amounts of respect go out to the people that do that. First off, like,
Yeah.
I was there at 5 a.m. with a hairnet on making lemonade. You know, the passion and the love and the care that those people put into those jobs is unbelievable. And I went through that process, and I'm sitting there and I'm sweeping the floor and I'm just doing whatever job they want me to do because I have to learn everything. Sometimes I worked in the drive-through. I did all these different things.
Were you potentially thinking that Chick-fil-A might be a career option in management?
Yeah,
okay.
I did. But I knew I would have to start at the bottom if I wanted to do, just like so many things. And I quickly realized that wasn't the route that I wanted to go. But I did still need to make money. And so it was this juggle of like, all right, well, I got to put in the hours. I got to get the money coming in. And my wife ended up saying, listen, if you don't love it and this isn't what you're going to do, why don't you just give lessons again? Just help kids out. Maybe you'll love the game again or something like that. And it wasn't that I hated baseball. It was just a hard few years, And so I ended up quitting the Chick-fil-A job, bought a portable mound, and just started giving lessons wherever I could, pitching lessons to people, and regained the love. And that was in the early spring of 21. And then in March, I interviewed for the Paddleheads, and here we are.
So 3 seasons in.
Yeah.
What is the secret to your success? Because your win percentage and getting to championship series, I mean, you guys have something special. And being in the stands watching you, like, you're mellow. Like, have you got ejected this year? Any ejections this season?
One.
Was it? Did you deserve it?
No, he deserved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Don't back down.
Yeah, no, he got it, and he deserved it. But you know what though? I saw him a few weeks later, and hey, man, how's your family? Like,
it's a game.
It's
Yeah.
Shake their hand out the next day, act like it didn't happen, and we're good.
But just the way you lead, the way you carry yourself and your team, like, you guys have something special. Where did that come from? How did you develop that skill set?
Man, that means a lot. Honestly, I feel like a lot of it came from how I wished I would have been coached, or how I wish I would have done it. A lot of failure, a lot of really hard times, a lot of like really hard conversations with my wife, to the point where we had conversations where she was like, I don't know you right now. What it was a really poor job of prioritizing on my part. It was, I'm going to focus a lot more on the baseball than I am my family. It was this idea that, like, if I didn't succeed in baseball, again, here we go right back to the playing thing, that my identity was going to be nothing. I was going to be nothing. And so it creates this really hard divide. Because to have a family in baseball is hard already, And so what ended up happening was I had just a lot of really big wake up calls. I'm so thankful to my wife for being that honest with me, that she was able to proverbially punch me in the face and say, hey, wake up. Like, you got 2 little boys that love you. I love you. Like, there's more important things. And what ended up happening was I started just realizing that truly caring about people, letting people be themselves, learning who they are as people before you ever coach them, and keeping the game fun. Like, there's not much baseball coaching going on.
I was going to ask you, at this level,
like,
how much coaching, or is it just more mental support, talking through slumps or hitting their spots? Or,
I mean, I would say that, like, I think a lot of people would say I don't want my owner to hear this, because it's like I don't coach much baseball.
Yeah.
But like, Peter, like, loves that, and he's all in on it. We have just found that if we care about and love the people that wear our uniform first, we'll be able to coach them better because they're more receptive to it. I say love them, then lead them, And I think that's the bulk of what we've been able to do. We do a really good job of vetting these guys before they come in. Do they fit what we're doing? Are they, all those things. But then when they're here, like, actually loving them and letting them know that myself, the coaches, the front office, the owner, all feel the same way, and we're behind you 100%. It's just been a really cool thing.
That's awesome. That was powerful. We're going to jump into our rapid fire questions and
Let's
then
do it.
we'll get
Let's do it
back to
real quick.
baseball. Okay, here we go. First initial memory of Missoula.
We showed up 2021. I was like 2 weeks out from a heart procedure because I have a heart condition. And the front office, the community rallied around, got me set up, like took care of my family. So the first initial reaction was like legitimate love and care. I knew right away it was a special place.
Favorite coffee shop in Missoula?
Lou's Caboose.
Favorite restaurant?
Cafe Rio and Wally and Buck.
When you live in Missoula, what zip code do you live in?
59803.
Yes.
What do you love most about Missoula?
I love how it doesn't matter what your background is, what your affiliation is, what your religion is, what you politically stand for. I've seen more love crossing boundaries with people than anywhere else I've ever lived.
What's the weirdest thing about Missoula?
The weird, I honestly like how so many different people can genuinely peacefully coexist. I mean, Missoula's like, I guess that's not weird, but it's weird when you
from the outside looking in.
From the outside looking in, you're like, there should be arguments and fight, and then there's not. So it's weird in a good way.
I love that too. Is there a specific book that has made an impact on your life more than any others?
There's been a lot. I'm not sure how cliche the answer is, but for me, it's been the Bible. It's a big leadership book, especially in the New Testament. And I would say above all else, that's the one that I look to the most.
I don't know much about independent league, paddleheads. How do you find these players? Like, what is the recruiting process? Like, recruiting is not the right scouting process.
Yeah, no, it's recruiting too. Though. I mean, so the reason it's recruiting also is because you're getting guys who have been told no. I mean, really, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. So they played out their college career. So they either were told no by pro scouts in the major league ranks. They were told no by major league people when they were in the major league ranks or minor league ranks. Or they were with another independent team and they were told no. And so the idea of saying, I know you've been burned or you're not where you think you should be, but let me explain to you why this place is special and why we can help you get better really is recruiting. It's a little recruiting, a dash of sales, to be honest, and a lot of scouting. And it's the Rolodex. It's pulling out the who you know and who do they know.
It almost seems counterintuitive because you're bringing in guys, developing in them, and their hope and goal is to move on and leave here.
Yes.
And when those guys have that talent and that ability to leave here, it has a negative impact on your batting lineup in your order. Yeah. So like you have to live with that tension.
So this is where indie ball goes one of two ways. And this is where I've come a very long way in a few years. I had to drop the pride and drop the ego and drop a lot to be able to genuinely and wholeheartedly tell a guy, congratulations, you're going. As a coach and as a manager who's, I guess, life is dependent on like how you do on the field. Like you want the good guys to come here and then you want them to stay.
Yeah.
And to shift to they're coming here and I hope they leave. And I genuinely hope you leave. I include that in when I'm talking to guys. It's like, hey, you're coming here and I want you to be here, but I also hope I don't see you very long.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, when you drop the pride and drop the ego and drop all those type of things as a manager, you say, why do we exist? Well, we exist because we want to be a platform that catapults guys to the next level. So how unbelievably selfish of me to ever think that I should hoard that.
Is it bittersweet when you have a guy on your roster for 3 consecutive seasons?
Yeah, like so Cam Thompson.
I was going to say Killer Cam.
Yeah, Killer Cam, man. Best teammate ever.
Arguably the face of the organization. Like
he is.
He's a stud.
Has been here literally from the beginning. Just played his 310th game with us in a small amount of time. I want it so badly for him.
Yeah.
And he wants it. But he has done an incredible job of saying, that my feet are here now and I'm going to give my all here.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like, why don't scouts see what I see? An unbelievable leader, great teammate, talented hitter, can play multiple positions. In the last week, he's played third, he's played second, and he's played center field. And he's hit go-ahead home runs. He's bunted. I mean, he's done things that true leaders
seems like
on
a
the field
coach's
do.
dream.
Yeah, he's
having
amazing.
him.
He really, really
Yeah.
is. And so it is bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's also bittersweet when a guy comes for a week and then gets signed. But it's also amazing. And it's cool to be a part of that journey.
I've got 2 more baseball questions, and then I think it'd be fun to transition to some of the leadership and just even what the last season of life has looked like for you. How do you feel about the challenge rule, the new rule in indie ball? Again,
I hate it.
It's as a fan, it's frustrating.
I hate it.
Yeah.
But I'm a baseball purist, and I love the fact that human element is involved. And just like any other friendly argument you would have, there's 2 sides, and there's like, you perceive something in life differently than he does. And so your take on something is going to be different. Well, umpires have their own little thing and their own zone and their own, like a strike's a strike, but there's still, I saw it different.
Some gray area.
There's gray area. And I just hate that it's being taken out.
Yeah.
And when they tap their head and the pitcher's overturned, I just I just personally don't like it. Let the human element be a part of it.
That's fair. Second question, in baseball, I always find it interesting that the coaches and managers also wear a uniform.
Yeah.
And like, it's not like that with any other sport team. And they're not getting dirty, sliding. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But managers have a jersey number. What's your jersey number and why? Because I know numbers are really important, particular to athletes.
So I wear 14 here. I wore 14 in high school. I wore 14 a couple times throughout my pro career. I kind of just wore it because it's what I wore. I don't know. Like I'm
there's nothing special.
Nah,
No, wasn't.
A couple other numbers that were special to me, 33, 35. But honestly, I just took 14 my first year here when they ask, and I've worn it. I don't wear my jersey much anyway. I wear the little jacket or sweatshirt. So
is there any specific baseball manager that you look at is like, I want to be like that person? Who's your favorite manager of all time?
That's a really good question. So it's interesting. Like obviously, here we go again. I grew up watching Bobby Cox. So I love the fact that he always had the players' backs. He was fiery. He got ejected more than any manager because he fought for his guys. I think he would probably be up there. Brian Snicker, the current manager of the Braves, was a baseball lifer, 40 years in the minor leagues before he got his first major league opportunity. And he's led the Braves to a World Series championship, a lot of success. And the guys play hard for him. He's not a demonstrative person. He doesn't yell and scream and all that. But I think it's because that they know that he loves them, first and foremost. Like whether you're there for a day or you're there for 10 years, that guy has your back. And so those two, are huge.
So like the guys in your dugout, are you hoping to get the call up? I mean, is that a dream to coach at a major level, or what's the future look like for you and your family, or what is the dream?
So this is answered vastly different than it would have been if you knew me 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I would have said, I want to be a big league coach, and that's my dream. Since then, I feel like I've understood that it doesn't matter what size your platform is. Like you can impact it regardless. So if I'm in Missoula, Montana, and I'm coaching the Paddleheads, and I get a chance to impact 30 guys a year, and there's a couple thousand fans at the games, and no national media really knows what we're doing, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I get to go home and truly realize that I have a platform to pour into guys.
Well, it speaks very highly of you, because unless I've missed it, I can't think of one time in the news or media have heard a story of any off-field antics within the Paddleheads organization.
Well, we just don't stand for that.
That's
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know that there have been. And so
it's incredible.
But again, like when you say, let's say you got 2 players and player A has better stats, but you've heard some iffy stuff about him. Player B has significantly less stats, but you hear he's an unbelievable teammate. The Paddleheads are going to take player B. Like we are going to go a little bit below what other people would do statistically because we heard about the character. Yeah. And it's just worked.
This last season of life for you, I don't know where the last 3 years,
Man.
what?
Wow.
What's going on off the field with the Schlact family?
A lot. In March, my wife lost her dad. That was gut wrenching. No one expected it, and that was hard. Been walking through that. About 2.5 weeks ago, my heart condition flared up again. Ended up in the hospital in Boise. I'm working through that right now. My two wonderful boys are autistic, and we're working through that. How to help them, and to that point though, they're helping us. I mean, the way they view the world is different.
How old are your boys?
9 and 6, and there's sensory things there, and there's all sorts of things that they're working through. But my wife and I have learned so much about ourselves through it. But I think that's who we're trying to be. Like, how can they teach us, and we'll teach them, and it's been a cool little circle of care in our house. But and yeah, just helping with everything that comes with the loss of a parent for my wife. Like, I'm not a control freak, but I love to have control, and I love to fix stuff. Like, I don't love to fix stuff like a table. I can't do that. She does that. But I love to fix or try to fix or have the appearance of fixing something. Like, if a guy's mechanics are wrong, I want to fix them.
Right.
I cannot fix the fact that my wife lost her dad.
Yeah.
I just have to be there and be quiet and sit and let the presence hopefully be felt. And so we've learned a lot this year. And yeah, so that's been crazy. And then personally, yeah, but like, to be completely transparent with you, it has been a process over 20 or more years to say, who am I? Like, really? And am I being that all the time? Because in high school, I had a problem being a chameleon a little bit. I mean, we're all growing up, we're all trying to figure that out, who we are, what we want to do, who our friend group is. I mean, and it's been a crazy process to learn that too. And even in the last few weeks, just there's amazing peace and clarity and so much that comes with just being true, being truthful, being who you are, and letting people either accept you or not based on that. So, like, off the field, all those things, that's kind of what we're working through. But it has been the hardest and the best season of life in some very interesting ways for us.
Crazy how that works.
Yes.
What's your favorite moment that you've had as a coach? Or maybe a better way to put this would be, what are you most proud of that a past player has said about you, or the impact that you've made in their life?
Oh man. Like, when a guy comes back and he has a kid and they're like, man, like, I just thank you. Like, that has nothing to do with baseball. And I'm like, thank you for what? And they're just like, you just made that last experience so amazing. Or like, I hope I can parent the way that you coached us. Or like, when a season ends, like, and we're sitting in the clubhouse and they're saying, this was the best time I've ever had. You made us love baseball again. And I say you, I mean we, like, in the Paddleheads organization. Like I didn't know what to expect when you guys signed me, but I love baseball again. Or like those are the cool things. Not like, you helped me strike out 100 people. No, like, the real stuff has been really cool. And that's when you realize that the transition from player to coach for me had nothing to do with what I was going to give them on the field from a technical standpoint. It allowed me to just have that platform to help them as people. And the way that transitions is fun.
I'd imagine, I mean, you guys have thousands of hours on buses and hotels a season, that at some point the conversation changes from baseball and surface and you guys start living life together. And that is where I imagine the real coaching comes in of leading these young men and
Yeah.
helping them figure life out.
Yeah. I mean, it gets real when a guy walks in and tells you his mom's about to die, you know, or that a relationship's ending, or stuff that has nothing to do with baseball.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing that, number one, that they trust us that much. They trust me that much to come tell me, and to be able to say, baseball doesn't matter. Let's talk about this right now.
Yeah.
Is really cool.
Well, dude, that's amazing. And thank you again for taking time out of your schedule. I mean, you're in the heart of the season right now and have a game tonight, and just appreciate you coming in,
always
opening up and sharing your story. And
yeah,
just thank you for the difference you're making in the community and the impact you're making in the lives of young men and families.
Means
here
a
in
lot. I
Missoula.
really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
What's up, Missoula? This is Nick Balla, producer of the Missoula Podcast. We truly appreciate you hanging out with us as we dive into the stories that make our city special. If you could do us a quick favor and follow the show wherever you are listening, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, maybe you're watching on YouTube, so hit that little subscribe button. It really helps us out. Head on over to www.themissoulapodcast.com for more information, and we'll see you next week.